Greetings, everyone. Thank you for listening to episode 6 of People in Production podcast. I'm really pleased to be with you today. Today, we're going to meet Ryan Borgerding with Jarboe Employment Group, and we'll hear his story of how he started the group and how he started into the space of employment placement. We're also going to learn the importance of candidate-centric approach that Jarboe has and the unique position that Jarboe has in the employment placement market. Then we're going to hear the unique story behind the start of collaborating with KCNMA and the development of the apprenticeship program that they've been working on and that's launching here in 2025. Some great insights there. Then you'll get the opportunity to hear that Ryan thinks we don't have a labor shortage. He says we're dealing with a labor quality issue, and I love that insight. You're going to enjoy this episode. Before we dive into it, please like and subscribe to this episode. I'd encourage you to share this on your LinkedIn profile or your social media channels, and then also leave some comments. Whatever place that you're listening to this, leave some comments. Leave a review on how much you appreciate Ryan's insight, Ryan from Jarboe, his insight, and let him know of the value of it. The other thing, listen at the end. I'm going to share with you about an opportunity coming up in February for leaders in your organization to take leadership to the next level. So make sure you listen till the end. Ryan, with Jarboe, it is great to see you. We just had a little technical difficulty, and I was just trying to figure out what was going on. So we are jumping back into this. Ryan, thanks for being with me today. You are with Jarboe Employment Group, and tell me about how you got into the Jarboe business.
Yeah, so I guess I'll go, rewind to just getting into staffing in general, as kind of everybody told me that was in staffing at the time, and I come to learn myself after getting into it is, staffing finds you. You don't really go find staffing.
You don't go through college thinking that's where I want to land. Is that what you're saying?
No doubt, yeah. And, when I came out of school, I, had a couple of different options. And as most young folks do, I took the highest paying job at the time. And, it was an insurance claims position with a large commercial line carrier. And, did that for about 3.5 years. And, was succeeding in the role, but finding zero enjoyment in what I was doing. And a buddy of mine called me up out of the blue, knowing that I wasn't too happy with what I was doing, and asked me if I'd be interested in getting into staffing. And my first question was, "What's staffing?" So yeah, the kind of high level overview was, well, you get paid to help people find jobs. And I thought to myself, that sounds a heck of a lot better than what I'm doing right now.
Let me pause for a second. Is that how you would describe Jarboe?
Yeah, I would describe Jarboe in that way.
Okay. I was just curious. Did his sales pitch to you hold true through your journey?
It has. I'd say the one part of it that hasn't is that I came into it naive, thinking that we'd be able to support the people that were in the greatest need for support. But as I learned pretty quickly, these companies are paying a decent amount of money for us to help them identify these key hires, and unfortunately, like, the people that are in the most dire of situations aren't, always the highest caliber individual for the particular position that our client's looking for them to fill. So, we've identified ways to, find fulfillment and derive intrinsic value from, supporting the people that are in the greatest need in other ways. But, aside from that realization after getting into it, it's definitely what Jarboe was founded on is, helping people, people helping people. And, we've taken a much more employee centric, candidate centric approach. And, I think it seems counterintuitive to some that we would put, give preference to the individuals, more preference to the individuals than our clients. But as I've put it to a lot of clients over the years, without the trust of those people, we would never be able to find anybody for you. So yeah, we're
Yes.
going to.
Love that. And so, if I understand right, you actually started in it in a national agency. You didn't start by starting your own company, obviously. So tell us a little bit about that
Correct.
journey.
Yeah. So started out as just as a recruiter, banging the phones and doing my best to learn all of the technical intricacies of the work that we're involved in at that time. We're
Now, as a
heavily
recruiter,
focused in
were you recruiting staff people, or were you recruiting businesses that might need your staffing service?
recruiting the staff for
Okay.
those businesses. Yeah. So the business was in place already, and the job orders were there already, and our focus was predominantly engineering at that time. And aside from my dad being a science teacher and having some engineers in the family, that's about all I knew about engineering. So
Gotcha.
learning kind of the technical intricacies of the positions that we were staffing for was a fun challenge at the beginning of it all. And so that's I spent it was probably about 3 years in a dedicated recruiting role, and then had the opportunity to move into an account management position from there, where I'd work hand in hand with the clients that we were staffing for, and I'd also be recruiting and helping to find them people. And as we continued to grow the branch office of the previous company that we were working for, it started to get to the point where we weren't really seeing eye to eye with the ownership at the time, and our strategic visions really weren't aligning anymore. And I think we had both come to that realization. And given that my business partner and I had kind of created and maintained everything that was happening within the Kansas City branch office at that time, I think the owner realized, without us being a part of it, there wasn't much there for them. So provide us the opportunity to purchase out the assets to their Kansas City branch office, which we did in June of 2019, and started up Jarboe Employment Group from there. Maintained all of our existing staff that we had, all of the clients we had, all of the external employees that we had contracted to our clients at that time. So it was really a much smoother transition than I think my business partner Nick and I really thought of that it would be. And obviously got met with a national state of emergency not too long after starting the business, and definitely a nightmare for any new entrepreneur and business owner.
Yeah.
But thankfully, we were able to weather that storm, staff for a lot of essential business operations and manufacturing, construction, and engineering, and we're able to maintain all of our staff during that time. And fast forward to today, we started Jarboe with 4 people internally. I think we had about 15 people that were, W-2 employees that we had contracted to clients at that time. Today, we're up to 12 internal staff and roughly 60, external employees that we have contracted to clients of ours. So it's been a fun, exciting, wild roller coaster of a journey. So.
Well, I love that. I love hearing that journey. As an entrepreneur myself, I've started multiple businesses and stuff, and it's just fascinating to hear how you guys came into the business and where it's gone from there. So, just to let people in a little bit, you and I have a meeting with your ownership group this afternoon, and we'd already been talking. You last fall had attended a workshop that I did with the NTMA, and that was our first interaction. And then we connected at another NTMA event around the holiday season, and you heard me just talking about some of how I approach coaching and stuff like that, and you were like, man, we've got to talk. So here I've got a meeting with your ownership group, but then I was also saying, hey, we need to do a podcast too. And when we were talking about that, I said, do you want to wait until after our meeting? And you said, no, let's let it be more organic. Let's just learn about each other as we record the podcast. So this is fun for me, just to be able to learn about your company. And I just wanted people to understand how we connected, but then understand that I'm asking questions because I'm coming into this without knowing a whole lot about your group other than some of the research that I've done online. And I've been really intrigued. And when I shared with you kind of my approach to coaching, that, when I work with people, first I try to say, hey, I want to care about you. And then I want to follow up on the accountability you promised to yourself. And then I want to work through clarity. And then I want you to set your commitment to yourself that will hold you accountable to the next thing. you kind of jokingly said, "Hey, when can we meet?" and stuff like that. And are you available next Thursday? And it's just turned into this. Hey, we've got some we've got some connecting points on how we view people that drew us to each other. So from that perspective, you are an employee centric company that are really trying to invest in people. If I'm an employer that needs talent and I come to you, what sets you guys apart? And why should I work with you instead of go out and get someone myself?
The thing that sets us apart, and I can say this confidently, is our approach. What you'll find in most sales organizations, which staffing agencies are, is that the stereotypical sales tactics, the pressure, coercion, and not that we don't, we are persistent in reaching our objectives, but we don't pester people. And so it's really the pressure that we felt, working for, another agency to produce revenue, to produce profit. It really forces you to make decisions and do things that may not necessarily coincide with your moral and ethical values. And the way that we always looked at it is if we were starting to feel like we were forcing something, then it probably wasn't the right fit. And so when you're got people over top of you that are saying you need to do more, you need to bring in more, you need to do, it makes it challenging to strike the right balance between those moral and ethical values and profit, right? So, it's I know the phrase "people over profit" has been used in various contexts, but I think it applies to our business and our mentality, and it's really doing the right thing for that individual that we're working with, and taking a much more consultative approach with them. We spend more time talking people out of making career transitions or talking people out of pursuing an opportunity with one of our clients than we do, talking them into it. And that's intentional because we want to make sure that it's really going to be the right fit for both parties before we even put forth a recommendation. So I think that's one thing that most of our clients would echo, is that the thing we like about Jarboe is that when they send us somebody, we can feel confident that they have done the work to make sure that it's going to be worth our time to consider this individual. And on the flip side, with the candidates, having experienced recruiters that do apply a lot of those pressure tactics, it can leave a bad taste in their mouth. And, especially those that have fallen victim to those pressure tactics and end up in a less than desirable situation and, wishing they had never left their previous position. So that's really the difference for us. And it's hard to, encapsulate that in any, one particular phrase or, marketing slogan or whatever it may be. It's something that's, that has to be experienced, right?
Yeah.
So
let me ask you this: if I am, because there are two approaches we could take to this conversation. We could say, hey, what's the pathway for the employee versus what is the pathway for the employer? For the audience that we're reaching, I'm a lot more interested in this pathway for the employer side of things. Yeah. And so tell me a little bit, if I'm an employer and I have a need, I'm in KCK, I have a machine shop that needs a CNC operator or some other role. How do I come to you? What's that relationship look like when I come to you? Am I coming to you if I need someone for 3 weeks, or am I coming to you if I need someone for permanent placement? Help me understand how companies would use your services.
Yeah, I mean, we serve a variety of needs that stem as short of a duration as a temporary, 2 week, you need to get somebody in here while we've got somebody out on leave, to identifying somebody for a very strategic position that, the company is intending on hiring directly and needs us to find that person and help play matchmaker. And really everything in between. I'd say the most common reason that employers will utilize our services is to identify folks for a longer term need that they have, and it's really at the preference of the organization in terms of how they want to go about structuring, how this person comes on, whether they get hired on directly by that organization or if they want them to come on through our agency and work through our agency for various durations of time before they put forth that full commitment and hiring them on directly. The way that we've always seen it is it's to each their own. It's really the preference of the organization in terms of how they want to go about that. And, the way that we structure our fees, it's no more, costly to go one direction or the other. And we do that intentionally to make sure that our customers feel comfortable doing whatever they feel is best for their business outside of the financial considerations.
So you had shared with me earlier before the technical problem and stuff like that. And there have been a few moments where I'm like, wait, have we talked about this since we got
Yes, sure.
to our audience? If there's anything that we've repeated, it's because we're overcoming operator error on the technical side on my part. But you have shared a little bit with me about this dynamic of your employees are the people are employed with you until they become employed by the other company. So you're paying their payroll taxes, you're paying their insurance benefits and stuff like that. Tell me a little bit about that, because that was different than what I anticipated the model would be.
Yeah. So regardless of whether or not they're actually working in our office every day, or if they're working for one of our clients and we don't see them, we treat everybody as if they are an internal employee of the company. And again, that's with the approach and mindset that these people are what really drives revenue for our business. And while the organization, the client, the companies are the ones that are actually paying the bill at the end of the day, if we didn't have people that trusted us and didn't provide people, a good offering during the time that they're working through us, we would never have anybody that would be interested in working through us and wouldn't have anybody to send to our clients. So, whenever we were deciding how do we want to have that set up, because, there is an opportunity to provide, different benefits to different, classes of employees. And, I know a lot of staffing agencies have elected to provide minimum essential coverage in the way of, health insurance benefits, in an effort to keep their costs down and generate higher margins from that temporary or contract to hire staffing. In our eyes, it was more important to us to provide a comprehensive benefit package, which is the same benefits that I have as an owner of the company. We provide to all employees, internal or external, because we felt that would allow us to identify the highest quality talent by providing the best offering. And seeing what we've been able to accomplish over these past 5 years, I can say confidently there is something to that. And it's also just personally, it feels like the right thing to do. So that's, we take care of not only, the benefits part of it, but all of the initial onboarding and compliance. And, we assume all the employment liability during that time, not just from a work comp and injury perspective, but it extends beyond that as well. So, it really provides our clients with a lot of, financial protection and liability protection that they wouldn't have otherwise employing them directly.
Yeah. And so you are currently serving clients in 11 states, if I understand right. You've placed people in long-term jobs in, I think you said 37 states. Is that correct?
Yep.
And so, but you're based out of Overland Park, Kansas, which is part of the Kansas City Metro and that type of thing. So you've really set yourself up so that if you have people in another state that company's not ready to hire them full time yet, they want to date them a little bit before they marry them, if you will.
Yep.
You are licensed in that state, or you're organized in that state so that you can pay payroll taxes and offer the benefits that you offer and stuff like that. So that's amazing, the extent that you guys have gone to be able to do that. Did you anticipate when Jarboe, were you in that many locations when Jarboe started, or were you just in the KC area when Jarboe started?
When we first started, it was just Kansas and Missouri as far as states that we were registered in and employed individuals in. So, and no, did not anticipate it to expand that wide geographically. Some states have been very intentional, just knowing the landscape of the state and, the amount of, opportunity there is for a staffing agency that focuses on, more technical roles in manufacturing, engineering, and construction. There's other states that we entered because we had a client that we started staffing for in Kansas or Missouri that had other operations and encouraged us to help them out in those locations as well. And for the good clients, yeah.
Yeah,
What's that?
It says something about how you served them. They were like, it
Sure.
worked so well here. We want you to offer these services where we are expanding or where we have other opportunities. So I think that's amazing. Love that. We're going to come back to this. I want to talk a little bit about the position an organization needs to be in to work with you. But before we get to that, let's talk a little bit about you're a part of KCNMA, or Kansas City National Machining and Tooling Association, and you've just recently joined the board of the KCNTMA. Tell me about your journey with that organization.
So it actually stems from, we had somebody reach out to us that was selling ad space at the national level for NTMA, and that was our first exposure to NTMA. This is probably 2 years ago now, and as we're contemplating whether or not to purchase that ad space, I started exploring the association further, and initially, decided, not going to purchase the ad space, but do want to have some involvement with this group. So I reached out at the national level and noticed they had a number of affinity partners, didn't see any staffing agencies that were, part of those affinity partners, and had inquired about, coming on in that capacity. And, given that we weren't truly like a completely nationwide staffing agency, it didn't necessarily make sense to join at the national level, and learned pretty quickly that they perceive staffing agencies as competition to their workforce development initiatives and weren't interested in having a staffing agency as an affinity partner, which makes sense. So I was encouraged to reach out at the local level at that point in time, and that's when I got connected with Catherine O'Toole, the executive director for the Kansas City chapter, and didn't take long to determine that there was going to be some synergy between the association and our efforts and staffing for a lot of manufacturers in Kansas City, and so it seemed like a no-brainer partnership, if you will, at that point in time. So spent a year just as a member, kind of seeing what it was all about, and having been involved in a lot of networking groups over the years, like I've come to realize that you got to be really mindful of how beneficial that time spent is going to be, and not necessarily from like a return on investment perspective, but are the things that you're going to learn and get exposed to, and the connections that you're going to make, are those going to create value for you in some way, shape, or form. And having wasted a lot of time in a lot of other networking groups, like I've come to realize like the success of that, and that being, the usefulness of that time is really predicated on how, engaged and involved and motivated that networking group is, right? And that's something I identified early on with the Kansas City chapter of NTMA, that, members were not only showing up to events, but they were actively participating. They were having thoughtful discussions and conversations, and as far as the actual member shops, that are part of the Kansas City chapter, they all have see, one of the main benefits in being a part of the association is to identify ways to, share work with one another, and, help one another to generate more revenue, and help to, keep more work here locally. And for a number of success stories, and just the year and a half that I've been a part of the association now of that occurring. And so that was the thing for me that told me this is going to be a group worth investing the time, effort, and energy into supporting in whatever capacity that we can. And when Catherine approached me to be on the board this year, it was a no-brainer decision for those reasons.
Well, and I would say this, first of all, by the way, if you want to know a little bit about Catherine, she was in episode 1 of our podcast. This podcast was kind of launched in a collaborative effort between the KCNTMA and my company, Circle of Five. And we just said, hey, we need to have a new conversation, a higher level of conversation in the area. And I just proposed this idea, and it's been a blast so far. I'm loving it. But knowing Catherine's background as a teacher, knowing her desire to get people connected and get people growing, there's not a surprise to me that you found this synergy between your organization and KCNTMA. Whether you felt that at the national level or not, it makes perfect sense to me that when you came to the local level, that, man, it just locked and loaded, like, this resonates. And to be fair, you didn't just go from being a member to being on the board. You got heavily invested this past year in helping to develop a skills developing program. You want to talk a little bit about that investment that you've partnered with the KCNTMA to accomplish?
Yeah, absolutely. So actually a former colleague of mine that owns and operates his own staffing agency out in Colorado was, I found through a proposal that he sent us for a government contract that he was going after, that there was a blurb in there about having created an apprenticeship program for the local chapter of NTMA in Colorado. And after I read that, I called him up right away and was like, what's this all about? What are you doing here at this thing? And, after learning more about kind of the intention behind them, building that apprenticeship program for the local chapter, made a lot of sense to me, and quickly, introduced that idea to Catherine, and she was fully supportive and felt like it'd be a great thing to be able to provide to the member shops of the local chapter. And really, for me, it's been, apprenticeships and just, skill development has just really been a hot topic, and something that I've, been an advocate for and encouraged a lot of companies to consider, as a talent acquisition strategy. But, a lot of times that was, those recommendations were falling on deaf ears. And so it took a lot of, questioning, why companies weren't interested in doing that. And what I came to find out is that is overwhelming for a lot of employers, especially, smaller employers that, have owners and leadership staff that are very active in the business. Just seemed like a daunting thing for them to be able to develop and create.
And they need productivity. They don't have time to slow down and mentor someone and apprentice someone. They need every hand on deck to be focused on the job, because at the end of the day, they've got customer demands. Is that part of the reasoning behind it?
Absolutely. And there's the financial component of it, of sending them through the schooling that's required in order to be certified as a journey level machinist. I think the time commitment that comes with the administration of the program as well. And I think there's also just some unfounded concern that this is a DOL, approved apprenticeship program. And, I think there's some myths about what this means as far as the DOL's involvement in individuals' businesses. And,
Yep.
It couldn't be any more the opposite. We've worked hand in hand with the rep from the DOL to, get this program into place. And, it's something they've communicated over and over again themselves. We're not here to catch anybody doing anything that they shouldn't be doing. Our goals are aligned.
Actually spies on your company. Yeah.
Yeah. We want to certify apprentices, So, those are the main concerns that I've faced a lot of times, and when I made that as a recommendation, and we were able to alleviate a lot of those with the program that we've created. And
tell me what the solution you guys have created is. Help people understand what does this apprentice program look like?
Yeah. So, first and foremost, came to find out that, there's multi-employer apprenticeship programs that you can create. And, obviously that's something that made a lot of sense for an association like NTMA. And after learning that we could, when I say we, NTMA and really Catherine could take on the administrative burden associated with, A, creating the program, and B, maintaining it thereafter, that alleviates the concern about the time that the owners and leaders of these companies are going to be putting into it. And then from the cost perspective with the schooling, we had looked at a few different options through, local trade schools and tech schools, and there really wasn't anything that was extremely affordable. On average, it was going to be about $15,000 to get an apprentice through the schooling portion of the program for machining. And through a lot of research and questioning, we found that there was actually another local chapter of NTMA that had utilized NTMA-U, which are courses that have been developed at the national level to help train machinists. They were able to get that approved as their related instruction portion of that apprenticeship program. And for chapters that, that invest in getting access to the portal, the NTMA-U portal, they're able to provide their members, employees, access to that schooling at no cost. So
for other NTMA chapters, they need to understand that they could deploy the same strategy in their context. Is that?
Absolutely. 100%.
Yeah.
100%.
That's pretty amazing that you guys are kind of breaking some ground and you're leveraging resources that are available. And I think part of what you're saying is the industry can be a part of their solution to the problem that they're experiencing of having a lack of talent. So why would people get involved? Because frankly, we and I don't mean to be negative, we complain every day about not having enough talent. But if we're not willing to invest in the solution, we've got to stop complaining. Well, once we start investing in the solution, we're solving the problem and we don't have to keep complaining. Now, it's going to take years to solve the problem, but if we're intentional, we can improve the conditions.
Undoubtedly. And, I myself have, talked a lot about like the labor shortages, and you hear that a lot as well. And I can't remember who it was, but one of the shop owners had made the comment to me, like, I don't think it's a problem of there being a shortage of people that, are available and able to work. I think it's a problem of labor quality. There's plenty of people out there. There's not a lot of people that are good machinists or can be good machinists. And I think that statement is more true than referring to the problems that exist as labor shortages. It's really labor quality and productivity issues. And that's, one of the main components of what these apprenticeship programs aim to solve, right? I mean, not only are they going to be getting more structured on the job training, but they're also going to have, the schooling that they're doing, related instruction, outside of the normal work hours, that's supplementing that knowledge base and providing knowledge that isn't just specific to, that particular shop or their, day-to-day operations, and, provides for just a much more well-rounded machinist. And, it's things like that are really going to be the catalyst for solving the labor quality and productivity issues.
Yeah, right on, man. That's great. I love those insights from Ryan and the Jarboe Employment Group. We kicked the conversation up a notch in the second part of this interview. You won't want to miss it when it comes out in our next posting. We get to talk about some real challenges organizations face when there's a disconnect between the C-suite and the floor. And we'll talk about the importance of investigating in leadership. Before I let you go today, I want to let you know about this upcoming education opportunity that we have for your leaders in your organization. In February, starting the 6th, we are going to, for 3 weeks on Thursday morning, we're going to do an online course that is targeted towards your leaders, where we're going to go deep into this dynamic of the leadership mindset and transformation of culture. And if you are looking to invest in your leadership team, if you're looking for a way to take their conversations, to take their insights into your organization to the next level, this is the way. I really want to invite you to have your leaders be a part of this. There's a limited number of spots. The cost is $797. That's going to include the Acumax Index profile, where they'll be able to learn a lot about themselves, how they show up, how they interact with each other in the environment where they can thrive the most. So they'll have a better opportunity to set themselves up for success. We'll also go through this 3 weeks of working through content together. It's actually 6 sessions that we're going to be going through, but we're going to do 2 each Thursday morning for those 3 weeks. And then following that up, we're going to have an intensive peer advisory group where it's just the people from this course, where we're going to be holding people accountable to putting into actions the things that they learned from this course, and they're going to be able to come back and share real-time experiences and challenges they're facing, where the group gets to collectively navigate their way through it together. So it is going to be a great opportunity. If you are interested, reach out to me. Check out our website, circleof5coaching.com, to find out more information. But we would love to have you be a part of this exciting time. Thanks so much.